Brands on Brands.
Hey, what's up? This week we're talking about getting stuck and then unstuck on your personal branding journey. Check it out.
In a world where content is king and your reputation is your brand, how do you build a brand that matters? Welcome to Brands on Brands, a home for those that think different and push their boundaries. This is where branding that matters lives. Now, here is your host, Brandon Birkmeyer.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Brands on Brands. I'm Brandon Birkmeyer, your personal branding coach. And this week we are talking about getting stuck on your personal branding journey and then getting unstuck. That's right. We are working through what it's like to get started on this personal brand journey, but there's also people who've been moving through this, who've started the process of building a personal brand. They get stuck too. And there are ways through that. It happens to everybody. And I was thinking about this because just this past weekend, I was on a family trip. It was actually dads and daughters on a camping trip. And we had the opportunity to go whitewater rafting. And obviously this was lower level whitewater rafting, like the easiest level you can do. It was probably 4 daughters and 4 dads to a boat. And the plan was to do whitewater rafting in groups like that. And then after that, to do tubing down a obviously lesser creek style river. And so we had both things planned. Now, on the whitewater rafting trip, obviously that was the part of the trip that was, more difficult, if you will. The waters were higher, the rapids were faster, and it's more complicated, it's more dangerous. But of course, we were in a bigger boat and we had a guide steering the way. And it was pretty safe for the most part. Everyone had life vests on, and you could kind of see where you were going and avoid most things. You had to paddle to get around certain obstacles. But for the most part, it was a pretty safe trip. You're on the river for maybe 2 hours, and it was a lovely time. Now, we definitely had times where we could get stuck along the way, where we'd have to paddle to get out of something, or we'd spin around, or we'd get splashed. And that was actually part of the adventure of it all. But luckily, we had a big enough boat to handle that, and we had a guide along the way. And I feel like for a business, for someone building their personal brand, this is what happens when you are a little bit further along in the process. You have a little more experience. The water's moving faster, but you definitely have more knowledge about what you're doing. And typically you have more guidance. You've found places on your journey. You've already found coaches. You've already found some tutoring. You've already watched some courses to where you generally know how to handle the things that are coming up. You might still every now and then not be sure about something you're about to do, or you might go down a road that might slow you down or trip you up. You might get stuck a little bit. But generally, it's easier to get out of it because you have more resources available to you. And I think that's the advantage of doing personal branding for a long time. Along the way, you build up more resources, you build up more skills, you build up more experience to navigate the things that are going to get you stuck. And if you don't have that, if you're at the more beginning side of your journey, I would seek that out. I would know that along the way, it's going to help me to pick up more resources, to pick up more knowledge, to pick up more other people who are doing this to learn from. And I think that's the advantage of building a personal brand, is that it's you. So the relationships you build, the relationships that you maintain are going to help you along the way, no matter what happens. Now, if you're at the beginning of your personal branding journey, you could get stuck too. Now, we went on a similar tubing adventure where we each had our own small inner tube. Each kid had their own inner tube and each adult had their own inner tube. And the water was much more shallow. It might have been a foot deep. And you're going down the creek, and there's places where it would drop off a couple feet and you'd go down the little falls, or you'd, be waving your way through rocks. And this was a lot of fun too. But I would say for most of us, this was actually the more dangerous trip. Obviously the water was more shallow and we could just stand up, but for the most part, we weren't standing up. We were going for the ride, And we didn't know what kind of rocks were going to hit us along the way because we're so shallow. And you're trying to float, you're not trying to walk, right? And I think this happens a lot for new people trying to build their personal brand. You're going to jump into the river and you're going to be closer to the ground. You're going to be moving a little more slowly, but the rocks are going to present themselves and you're not going to have as much buffer between you and the rocks. And it's a lot easier to get stuck. It's a lot easier to have not follow the flow of the water, to get caught up on some branches, to get pushed off to the side, to be distracted, to go down the wrong road. And this happens a lot. I remember getting stuck building websites and trying to get landing pages correct and trying to fix malfunctions in the coding of the different tools I was using. Lots of things would hang me up where the time that I could be spending moving forward in the business, doing things that actually help me, were actually spent on things that were distracting. And I think this is the biggest thing that slows people down is either the fear of what's ahead, not knowing what if they put something out there, is it going to work? Or they go down a road that gets them stuck and they're not sure how to get out of it. And they kind of spin their wheels for a long time on something that they shouldn't be. And the easiest way to get through that, I would say, is to seek out help, to not go down this road alone. If you're traveling down this river with other people, right? It's either you have people ahead of you that can tell you, oh, watch out for this thing. This just happened to me. Or you go first and then you tell them and you help them along. And you guys are, as a community, figuring it out. And that's what happened for us. We had multiple children and adults. And what was funny is the kids actually ended up moving down the river much more quickly because they're lighter than us and they weren't as close to the rocks. And there's going to be people like that in your life that just they move more freely through the water. But if you keep them around, they can actually help you tell you what worked for them. And whether it's luck or, just opportunity, learning from other people is a huge asset to someone building their personal brand. It's easy to want to do it alone, but it's going to move you much quicker to do it as a group. So I would give you guys the advice that, especially if you're getting started, seek out opportunities to do this with other people. Seek opportunities to learn and to be curious and to have those adventures. But be wary of the things that are going to get you trapped. Weary of the things that are going to cause you some trepidation in terms of making decisions, or are going to slow you down because you don't know what to do. Just having someone to bounce ideas off of and to figure out how to move forward can save you a lot of time and a lot of energy too. Because I know a lot of the time it's that fear that slows us down more than anything. The fear of ever wanting to send something out, to make a comment, to make a post, to create content, the fear of going to a networking event and not knowing anybody, saying the wrong thing, the fear of sharing something that no one wants to download and it flopping. All of that will slow you down. But if you're doing it with other people, you'll have that support that helps you get past that fear. So that's my story for you guys today. If you have never been whitewater rafting, by the way, or tubing, I would highly recommend it. A lot of fun, a great way to get outdoors and to have those kinds of adventures, but do it with a group of people. Grab a couple friends and have a great time. That's my lesson for you guys today. And I would say if any of you need help, need coaching, are working on your personal brand, whether you're just getting started or you've been doing this for a while, but you've gotten stuck on some branches, feel free to reach out. I have a free 15-minute call for people who would like to get to know me and say hello. And you can find that at brandsonbrands.com/coaching. And I'd love to hear from you. Love for you to reach out. Also, if you want to know where you are on your personal branding journey, I do have a quiz that you can take. It gives you a scorecard of how you're doing with your personal brand so far. If you want to check that out, go to brandsonbrands.com/scorecard and get your personal branding score and see what there is that you can do there. And after you take that quiz, give me a call and we can talk about your score and a couple of things that maybe you could do to take some steps in the right direction. I hope you found that helpful, and I look forward to hearing from you and hearing what your scores are and getting to know you better. As always, I appreciate you, and we will catch you next time.
You've just taken your marketing knowledge to another level with this episode of Brands on Brands. But we have plenty more ways to help you build a brand that matters. Head over to brandsonbrands.com for resources, as well as access to our blogs, videos, and exclusive coaching sessions with your host. Be sure to visit brandsonbrands.com.